Welcome back, Year 9s, to week 2 of your paper trebuchet project. I hope all of you enjoyed your first task last week. Lots of responses have been coming in, and we've been really impressed by what we've seen so far. Now, I know not all of you had a chance to finish your trebuchet last lesson, and this lesson you will have a chance to catch up from where you left off and to finish off your project. But today's lesson is mostly based around developing your project further. So once it's complete, you need to identify if there are any areas of weakness or perhaps areas that don't function quite so well as they should do, and this is your chance to rectify these problems before launching into challenge week, which is next week. So I've linked the video that you watched last week and also the resources again in the boxes here, so you can have a little look at those just to refresh yourself. As part of today's lesson, you will need to document all of your development work on a template, and I'll show you that very shortly. But you'll also need to create yourself a bullet, which is super simple. It's just an A4 piece of paper or A4 size, there or thereabouts, scrunched up as tightly as possible, and you'll also need to create yourself a target, and that could be super simple as well. You might want to be inspired by a dartboard, or you could keep it even more simplistic than that if you would like to. So before we have a look at the development template, it might be worth us just brainstorming some ideas as to why we actually develop our product, and this can be anything. So paper trebuchet aside, generally speaking, we develop products to improve, now excuse my writing on screen here, improve functionality, and it could also be to improve aesthetics, and it could be to improve performance. Okay, so in terms of improving performance, we'll start here first, and this is pretty much what we're talking about with our challenges. So challenge number 1 is our distance challenge. Second challenge we've got is accuracy, and our last one is our weight challenge. Now, I'm sure as soon as you finish your trebuchet, lots of you would have already tested your trebuchet to see how it actually functions, or how it performs, I should say. So thinking about how far the trebuchet actually fires in terms of distance, that might be something that you can improve on specifically. So perhaps it doesn't fire very well. What could you do? Maybe you could increase the length of the lever that's being used. In terms of accuracy, this one might be a little bit trickier. It could be something as simple as the section that holds the little bullet. If you make that a little bit smaller so it's more focused, you might have a better chance of firing something with higher precision. Or in terms of the weight, it could be improving the structure of the product itself. So for that, you might want to have a look at paper bridges and see how bridges are made out of paper. Lots of you are using paper obviously for this project. So just some simple structures that you could have a little look at is if you almost fold your paper into a zigzag shape like this. Excuse the drawing, it's not easy to draw on a screen, so I hope this kind of illustrates the point. So a little zigzag like that, and that could improve the strength in some way. It might be a matter of you maybe needing just to roll your paper even tighter than you did last week when you create your tubes, so it's more tightly packed, so it's more condensed. Or you might want to have a look at something else altogether. So you might want to play around with almost like a triangulated structure and see what happens there. Okay, so if you have enough time, that is something you can consider doing for that bit. In terms of improving functionality, this might be just a matter of how the pendulum aspect of the product swings. So what can you do there to make it flow and swing a little bit more freely? And then the aesthetics, that should be really something that you move on to if you have time at the end of things. Obviously, we're mainly focusing on the functionality and the performance to make sure it functions as it should do. So moving on to the development template, it looks a little bit like this. What we're asking from you in terms of your homework is your photo right in the middle of this page, so we can see what your product now looks like. And then before you do anything else, make sure you read through the success criteria, and this is what we'll be using to assess you against. So it says, what did you change and why? Indicate where these changes were made. Now, the easiest way to do this is obviously a bit like a spider diagram. You can just draw simple lines from your product and highlight exactly where the changes were made, and then you can tell us why they were made and what impact that actually had on your product. And I'm not going to go through all of those success criteria because I'm sure you're more than capable of reading those yourselves, but read through them thoroughly. What I would say is if you are testing your product, do not test with very heavy weights. What you don't want to do at this stage is to test it to the point where it gets destructed and you'll have to start again. Okay, so if you are testing the weights, be a little bit cautious with that and leave yourself, or wait until next week to test out anything a little bit heavier. So I hope you get on okay with this week's work, and we look forward to seeing your responses once again.